He's never been beat. He destroyed everybody at light heavyweight, which at the time was the toughest weight class in the company, in the sport.
Well, it could be for two reasons. It's either that Jon Jones is using a strategy to have more money.
You could say it, GSP. Go for it. Come on, say what you want to say.
If he has no intention of coming back, that's not right.
According to Dana White, Jon Jones is and will always be the GOAT, and he would knock out Tom Aspinall at any time. Jon Jones' fascination with a comeback bout has taken another unplanned turn. This time, the setting is as unique as the game itself. The former UFC heavyweight champion, who vacated his title after announcing his retirement, has continued to indicate an unexpected willingness to face Tom Aspinall in a match. That may take place at the White House. It's the type of title that reads like satire until you find it was inspired by none other than Donald Trump.
Jon Jones. I'll be honest, Tom's a friend. I love Tom. He's one of the coolest dudes in the whole of MMA. Even though Jones is getting old, I just can't pick against Jon Jones. I've been watching Jon Jones as a...
The former US president recently made news when he announced plans to hold the first UFC event on the White House lawn. Whether it was a publicity gimmick or a sincere pitch to his base of UFC-loving supporters, the idea took off quickly. Dana White was the first to react, telling media outlets simply, "I love it." When questioned about the possibilities, that was all it needed. It didn't take long for the sport's top personalities to circle the idea like sharks detecting blood. Jones, who had earlier stated that he was not interested in facing Aspinall under current terms, suddenly tweeted a fan-made picture of himself squaring off against Aspinall at the planned event. Captioned simply, "I like it."
And say, no, you're not going to take this. And do you know what Jon Jones did? You have it. I don't want to fight. You can have it. This is unbelievable. The greatest of all time. What a load of shit. I'm sorry. Never going to call that him the GOAT. Ever again. Because being the greatest of all time is not just about winning. And that's what Jon Jones doesn't understand. It's about how you conduct yourself throughout the whole of your career. Are you willing to fight the biggest challenges, the biggest tests, go in there and...
This is a sharp turn. Jones recently turned down the Aspinall bout, allegedly due to high financial demands of around $20 million. It was a tough situation that enraged fans, especially after Aspinall beat Sergey Pavlovich on short notice to earn the interim heavyweight title, which was then enhanced when Jones abandoned his own. While the UFC moved forward, many fans wanted closure. A battle between Jones and Aspinall seemed like the only way to settle the heavyweight discussion. Nonetheless, every time concerns were voiced, Jones looked to dismiss them.
That's hard for people to grasp because, and again, it should be really clear. I am, without a doubt, not trying to let him off the hook. What he did was horrible. If it was someone in my family that he hit with that car, I would be unbelievably furious. I'm incredibly disappointed in him. I think the UFC...
He was open about his views. He was more interested in legacy matches. Francis Ngannou and Alex Pereira are household names with championship records and crossover appeal. Aspinall was a young upstart who had yet to make it to the final rounds and lacked the same mystique or selling power. Jones' club probably saw him as a high-risk, low-reward option, but now, things look to be changing. Jones appears to have re-entered the debate. Whether it's the spectacle of the planned White House event, the potential to reclaim the title he left behind, or simply the desire to remind the MMA world who still sits on the heavyweight throne.
You're a sprinter and you take PEDs. You become faster than people who are not taking PEDs and you win a race. That's okay. You're a cheat, you've won, they'll take your title off you or whatever. That's fine. If your job is to hurt another person, physically hurt another person, which could potentially redirect the rest of their life post-fighting, you're an absolute piece of shit and you should never be able to fight again if you have any PED.
Of course, not everyone thinks he's serious. Michael Bisping questioned Jones' goals after he made recent internet comments about the White House fight and the drug testing pool. Should we believe him? Should we take it at face value? Is he speaking out of his ass? Bisping noted, perhaps he's having fun. Maybe he's teasing Tom. Perhaps he's drunk. Maybe he's having a couple beers on July 4th, sitting there with his boys at a cookout, laughing his ass off. Or maybe he is serious. Perhaps it is real. Maybe he will come back. Perhaps he will step up and face Tom Aspinall.
At the Hall of Fame tonight, and then you're gonna put me on this by walking down the street. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you so much. What's your name? Say your name publicly. Say it. Officer Nerd getting elected into the Hall of Fame, and now this is what I got. What did I do? What did I do? I hate you. I hate you.
There is reason for caution. Jones has not fought in the octagon since his victory over Stipe Miocic. Prior to it, he had a long hiatus. The dates are constantly shifting. And every time his name is mentioned in regard to Aspinall, the argument becomes unclear. However, the possibility, no matter how speculative, is already public knowledge. Even Jones' longtime opponent, Daniel Cormier, shared his feelings. When questioned if Jones could still beat Aspinall, Cormier did not hesitate. A gun to my head. I believe John beats Tom, he said. I would have expected he'd beat him right now, because guess why? Tom has never been pushed to the final rounds.
He's like the longest running heavyweight champion in the history of the UFC, isn't he? But he's only like he hasn't fought anyone.
I don't think it's going to happen, you know. I think John gets a lot of money for being champion. I think the sponsors not paying him a fortune, and I think he's just dragging along, keeping the belt as long as possible because it's worth that much money to him.
I mean, John's often struggled with tall people who are good boxers. I imagine he probably, if he did...
Cormier's analysis is correct. Aspinall's dominance has been established through short fights, rapid knockouts, and quick finishes. He hasn't had to work through a fifth round or recover from a tough fourth. Jones, on the other hand, is a frequent traveler. His resume includes 5-round fights, nail-biting split decisions, and clear tactical breakdowns. He knows how to modify, survive, and impose. That's a big difference. But what's fascinating is that Aspinall appears to understand this. In an interview with Adam Catterall, Aspinall admitted that the belt he holds does not have the same weight. As if he had taken it from Jones. I felt I was a winner anyway. I knew I was the interim champion. But I didn't feel it. I was simply glad, okay, that's finished. I can fight again. Do not get me wrong, it's good to be the unquestioned winner. I would have liked to take it from John Jones, the clear champion.
UFC White House is crazy, dude. How's that even a thing? Is that allowed? Like, how is Donald even allowed to do that? Be kind of gangster, though. Chandler versus McGregor. Be kind of gangster. Aspinall. John Jones wants to fight him. Classic. Back in the testing pool after 2 weeks. Bro is a troll and a half. He's not having his title back. It just can't be happening. All big around.
Aspinall is not hanging to the belt as a sign of power. He is realistic about how he got there. When Jones withdrew from the tough bout, the UFC needed a title holder, and Aspinall came in on short notice to take the interim title. He later defended it against Curtis Blades, suggesting it was not a fluke. But the uncontested title didn't feel fully gained until he defeated the man who had vacated it, and that has not happened. He's made it obvious that he's willing to fight Jones if the chance arises. But he's not going to wait around. According to reports, his next opponent could be Cyril Gane, who would provide another strong test for his championship medal. In contrast to Jones, Gane is active and has recently been in contention for the crown. Even that fight will not answer the question that fans have been asking: can Tom beat John?
I'll just come out and ask you, do you think he's ducking Tom Aspinall?
No. John Jones, I said it a million times, I'll say it again, he's never ducked anybody other than that one goofy time with the Chael Sonnen thing. He's never ducked anybody, and I think the reality is, whatever changed his mind with this fight, I don't know, you'd have to ask him that, but, he's 38 years old, and I don't know.
Do you think if it was someone like Alex Pereira, he would fight them, and it's maybe Tom that he specifically doesn't fancy?
That answer may only come if Jones re-enters the drug testing pool and agrees to a return. So yet, we only have a strange Instagram comment and Bisping's skepticism. However, the suggested stage, an open-air battle on the White House grounds, may be ludicrous enough to actually occur. Dana White's strong backing, Trump's eagerness to link the UFC to his America the 150 event, and the possibility for global exposure all suggest that the UFC may bend its own rules to make it work.
Is there a fighter in MMA or the UFC that you just find absolutely insufferable? Because for me, it's John Jones, and there is no close second. John Jones defended his heavyweight title against a retired 42-year-old Stipe Miocic back in November. Ever since then, John has been saying, what has Tom Aspinall done to deserve to fight me? Besides Tom being the interim champ and having a defense with that belt, John has just found every possible way to not fight Tom, even...
A comeback battle under the most historic lighting imaginable would be ideal for Jones, who likes creating legacy moments. What's most striking is how quickly the fight went from being a dead topic to suddenly feeling realistic. Again, for months, there was quiet. Now, Thanks to a few words from Trump and a few emojis from Dana, it's back in play. It remains to be seen whether this will happen, but fans are keeping an eye on it for the time being. The UFC's top brass is paying care. Even the fighters are watching. And with so many eyes on the White House lawn, Jones versus Aspinall may eventually become too important to ignore. Daniel Cormier is not usually the one to give Jon Jones credit. Their rivalry is one of the most personal and acrimonious in UFC history. But when it comes to the chance of Jones versus Tom Aspinall, even Cormier can't overlook what Jones brings to the fight. On a recent episode of the Pound for Pound podcast with Henry Cejudo and Kamaru Usman, Cormier discussed what is quickly becoming one of the sport's most anticipated fantasy fights. Asked who he thought would win if the two collided, Cormier leaned towards Jones. But there was a catch. Gun to my head, I think Jon beats Tom, Cormier stated clearly. But he did not stop there. He added a timeline to his prediction. I would have said he'd beat him right now, because guess what? Tom has never been pushed into the final rounds. Cormier's logic is obvious. In his view, experience is still important. Aspinall has been nothing short of powerful, yet he has yet to reach the third round in the UFC. No obstacles, no lingering wars, and no deep water. That counts when you're up against someone like Jon Jones, who has over a decade of championship experience dealing with every type of pressure, style, and setting.
That's Jon Jones.
Jon Jones?
Mm-hmm. He was the one driving the vehicle.
But they don't waste their cases with just killing you on petty crimes. But they definitely listen to conversations like this, and some of them are bored enough to kill you.
Cormier continued his thought by envisioning a scenario in which Aspinall gets such experience. Say Cyril Gane pushes Aspinall for 25 minutes. He stated that if he beats Cyril Gane, he will learn to endure 25 minutes without gasping for air, and that he must get off the stool after the third round. Cormier did not finish the sentence, but the point was made. If Aspinall matures and learns to navigate those deep seas, it changes the dynamics. Jones' advantage would shrink. That's why Cormier highlighted the importance of timing. Tom has not gotten off the stool for a third round. Jones needed to face Tom now, even if he lacked the necessary expertise, especially as Jon Jones.
I would even say this, and I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I would say that Jon Jones ducked Tom Aspinall so hard that he went through self-destructive measures just to avoid a fight with this man. That's how good Tom Aspinall is. And everyone you're going to list off is going to get beat.
Well, we'll see.
It's a convincing study that fans cannot ignore. Jon Jones does more than just beat them. He breaks them down. He learns, adapts, and overwhelms opponents with layers of techniques. That's a different form of threat that Aspinall has faced. His success has been mostly due to speed, explosiveness, and decisive finishing. If he can't get Jones out of the way early on and is forced to fight in the 4th and 5th rounds, he will be in unfamiliar territory. However, as analysts such as Cormier debate this battle in technical depth, other MMA personalities are keeping an eye on the timing and questioning motives.
Jones is a great fighter. Even if you stand in this room, I said, but he's the dirtiest fighter ever. If you doing anything good on him, he's going to poke you in the eye. If you in fasting on you doing anything good, you get the advantage, you're going to kick your knee backwards. For one, I think that knee kick, he's kicking you right on your kneecap, kick in the back. I think that should be banned. Like, my knee is still messed up from that.
Wow.
Yeah, because it hyperextended. He kicked it all the way back. Like, you can end people's careers with those moves. So think about all those spinning elbows he used to do in the beginning. Where did they land? Do you remember? On the back of people's heads.
It's true.
Matt Brown did not mince words when he reacted to Jon Jones' apparent return from retirement after Aspinall had already been scheduled for another fight. He claimed it looked like ducking, which many fans agree with. The optics are tough to overlook. Jones had been silent for several months as soon as Aspinall is tied up with another opponent. Jones is back in the drug testing pool and playing. With a comeback, that doubt adds a new feature to the discourse. Is Jones really ready to fight Aspinall? Is he just acting, buying time, or waiting for the ideal narrative?
Jon Jones hit with a new criminal charge in New Mexico for leaving the scene of an accident amid news of his retirement. Listen, y'all, this is nasty work. So I don't know if y'all watch UFC, but Jon Jones was a UFC champion, man. And he just announced his retirement. I was wondering how the fuck he's going to retire while he's the champion, bro. Like, why would you retire now? And then this news came out, and I was like, oh, it makes sense. John Jones about to do some time. He about to do some jail time, and he rather retire and give the belt back up than the...
John Anik, a longtime UFC commentator, believes the fight will finally take place, but not soon. In an interview with MMA Junkie, he shared his predictions. I think we will see it in December 2025 at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. He denied the idea of Jones competing again in New York, where he previously competed at Madison Square Garden. Last November, John Jones fought and won in New York's Madison Square Garden. I'm a Boston native. Place no a dump. No, I mean Jones checked the box. Anik said,
The Albuquerque Journal first reported the charges that stem from a car accident where a woman was found in the front passenger seat of one of the vehicles involved, and she was, quote, exhibiting signs of significant intoxication and lacking clothing from the waist down. The woman reportedly told police Jones was the driver of the vehicle, but he fled the scene on foot, a John Jones classic. A mainstay of John Jones's story, fleeing the scene on foot. She then called...
For Anik, Las Vegas is the only obvious choice. I'm not sure what the taxes are, but why does John Jones have to fight in Madison Square Garden? Why not fight in T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, the combat capital of the world? Vegas makes good business sense. It is where the UFC makes the most revenue and where the infrastructure is already in place. But from a practical sense, the question remains, what type of Jones will we meet in December 2025? Will Aspinall still be the same fighter?
But what did you make of it when you heard John calling out Alex of all people?
You know, I think he does do this because, you know, Alex Perez now, he's like big star in the UFC, you know, everybody loves him, so he know what he's doing, you know, but I believe he should to fight against Aspinall, but I think he a little bit afraid of him, you know, because Aspinall is someone who can really stop him and beat him.
Yeah,
I mean, but that's what I think that he believes if he can...
Jones' longtime coach, Brandon Gibson, has given insight into that aspect of the narrative. He says that the story that Jones is avoiding Aspinall is false. Gibson, who has cornered Jones for the majority of his career, thinks Jones' moves are motivated by time and legacy rather than fear. I think it's about timing. Gibson stated on SiriusXM's Fight Nation, I believe it's about making the most of this fight game. I've been in it for a long time, as have you, and it's not always a fair game. People may not always receive what they deserve in this game.
Fighter of all time, who has failed drug tests multiple times, ruined events, beaten his wife, crashed a car while drunk, breaking a pregnant woman's arm, fleeing the scene on foot, only to come back and get his weed and lighter and pipe out of the car, headbutting and damaging a cop car, threatening violence against cops, and now this. I probably left some other shit out too, but now this. Drunk driving with a woman not wearing pants. And it was just a woman, so it's...
Gibson also thinks that each year, a new next guy emerges to challenge Jones. Single year, another competitor rises as a credible challenge to Jones' reign. He stated that Aspinall is not unlike any of the past challengers who attempted and failed to dethrone Jones. Despite this, he praised Aspinall's talent and how he adds a fresh wrinkle to the division, but he insisted that Jones isn't worried about the match itself. If the fight is financially and competitively possible, they will accept it. When asked about Jones' apparent desire for a fight against Alex Pereira over Aspinall, Gibson did not view it as a ploy. I believe John is a tough opponent for Tom Aspinall, he stated. Obviously, we haven't seen Tom with an average fight time of 2.5 minutes. We haven't seen much of Tom, but that's also a plus on our end. John excels at pushing champion level fighters to their limits.
But no, I would say, yeah, if you're beating up kids, beating up women, I guess vice versa, if you're women beating up dudes in relationship, pick on somebody your own size.
I've heard far worse ideas. I like it. I'm with you.
Yeah. I wonder though, did anybody tell Le'Veon Bell like the irony of him specifically saying John Jones, considering John Jones' past with domestic issues?
Yeah, John Jones has his fair share of history too, and I looked at the comments of his Twitter post.
Gibson agreed with Cormier's assessment of Jones' ability to prolong fights and wear down opponents gradually. John is in the 4th and 5th round. We're not scared of this fight. It all comes down to what is best for John and his family. That is the tone from Jones' side. It's not about fear, but about power. They think Jones has proven himself, and the goal now is to make the most of his career.
The star Aspinall would have been if we just would have got that fight over with right away. Think of the star Ngannou still would have been for this company if you just would have had that fight and moved it on. And then you have an epic rivalry between those two, Aspinall and Ngannou. Like the years and years of amazing heavyweight fights could have been happening if Jon Jones just wasn't a petulant child, and if the UFC wasn't just the, oh no, it's fine, he's just finding himself, like just so annoying. And
the problem is that the battle game rarely goes as planned. Fans do not want abstract talks about timing or legacy. They seek truth. They want the top boxers to compete right now. That means Jones versus Aspinall, everything else. Whether it's another fight with Miocic, a cross-divisional clash with Pereira, or a symbolic showdown at the White House, feels like a diversion. And if Aspinall continues to dominate, the pressure will grow. How do you view it?